Well, it's emerged that the US, via the US president, that Russia's authoritarian leader Vladimir Putin has proposed that Trump and Ukraine's president both come to Moscow for talks. Well, let's show you then the exchange between Trump and Zelensky on this in Ankara.
President Putin said, I would love to meet in Moscow. And I said, I don't think, I have to put myself in his position. I don't know that he'd go to Moscow. Maybe he would. Would you go to Moscow?
It's difficult. There are a lot of Ukrainian drones there. That's right.
There you go. I don't know whether Trump quite grasped the remark that Zelensky made there, but clearly hinting that Ukraine's presence and Ukraine's advances are making Moscow less safe. But clearly we know exactly why Zelensky wouldn't want to set foot in Russia's capital with Putin in charge. Let's bring in Stefan Wolff, Professor of International Security at the University of Birmingham, for a wider analysis on this situation. It's a definite non-starter, that idea, isn't it, of Putin's getting Trump and Zelensky and him round a table in Moscow?
I think it's certainly a non-starter for the time being, not least because nothing really seems to have shifted in the Russian negotiation position. And I think it would be completely wasted effort and a huge distraction if Trump and Zelensky actually went there only to hear Putin to reiterate his ridiculous demands that he wants the complete acceptance of all his territorial gains and then even of territory that he doesn't control yet.
Indeed. Let's remind people, 2014, the land grab of Crimea was where it all began. And then, of course, 2022, accelerating that, sending something like 250,000 troops over the border into the east of Ukraine. People tend to forget that when they think about what's happening in Ukraine right now. They think of it as a stalemate. But, of course, back in the beginning, Putin very much wanted to take the country within 3 days and, I think, capture, maybe kill Zelensky. That was the aim, wasn't it?
Certainly. I mean, the Russians had a very different vision of how this war would be going. And as you said, here we are 4.5 years later, and it's really not looking as if Russia is winning this war. In fact, you could make a good argument that Ukraine really is shifting the military balance, not so much on the ground, but certainly in the air with massively improved capabilities that Ukraine now has for deep strikes into Russia, hitting Russian supply lines, logistics, but also hitting the Russian oil industry, which now has really created a crisis, not just in Crimea, where there's a state of emergency now because of lack of supplies, but also across Russia, where we have seen rationing of petrol supplies, a ban on diesel exports, and so on and so forth. So this is really beginning to hurt Russia and become much more obvious also to the Russian people that the Kremlin is not winning this war.
Indeed, and it is something, of course, that Ukraine has achieved largely since Donald Trump reduced military aid to Ukraine to zero. So something that is basically with the necessity of having to invent, creating a crowd-funded drone program and actually starting, as you say, hitting beyond enemy lines. Can we talk about the significance then of what has happened today? Donald Trump granting a license to Ukraine so they can build their own, I suppose you'd call them, Ukrainian Patriot missiles in that sense. But basically the missiles that Zelensky wants and has been asking for since day one, now possibly Ukraine has the chance to build these on their own soil.
Yes, I think this is a very positive development, but we really have to be careful not to really see it as a done deal yet. I mean, even in the short clip that you played us there earlier, Trump admitted that they hadn't actually told the company yet that is making the missiles. I think there will be very complex negotiations going on here in terms of how much of the technology and know-how will actually be transferred to Ukraine, whether Ukraine will make all the parts, assemble things, make part of the components of the missiles. I think a lot of that will still require quite serious negotiations. That to one side, I think it's a hugely important signal, a signal both to Ukraine and its European partners, but also a signal to Russia that the US is not going to abandon Ukraine. And if I may add to that, there's also been a significant commitment by NATO in this regard, where allies, including the US, again, rounded up behind Ukraine and assured Ukraine that they would have the country's back in its completely justified defense against the Russian aggression.
Indeed, we'll see then if Donald Trump can kind of strong-arm Raytheon, which I think is the company that makes the Patriot missiles, to play along and include Ukraine in the whole process. One of the issues, of course, is that it's one thing to have the license. It's another thing to actually start producing the weaponry, isn't it? That's one of the issues. So still, Trump has his hand on the actual weapon that Zelensky wants.
Certainly, there's also a question in terms of whether the US would put any restrictions on the use of the Patriot missiles. I mean, they are clearly an anti-ballistic system, so they are purely for defensive purposes. But as you said, I mean, there's a huge technological complexity in producing these. The capacity that the US has at the moment is by far not sufficient to meet global demand. So from that perspective, there is a real bottleneck here that could partly be lifted or at least eased if a license was given to Ukraine. And this could be a very important model more broadly in the way in which the European leg of the transatlantic alliance of NATO is developing in the future, and how Europe might be strengthening its own defense capabilities in the face of a continuing Russian threat, not just to Ukraine, but to Europe and the free world more generally.
How do you feel that, excuse me, how do you feel this news of the Patriot deal will be interpreted in the Kremlin? Is this going to be a message that Putin will get, that it's time to reassess his special military operation and perhaps look towards some kind of compromise on his part to make peace?
Yeah, I think that's certainly the hope. And again, we sort of need to see this in the broader context. I mean, the Patriot deal, if it comes to pass in the end, I mean, this is obviously the headline for today. But we should also not forget that there is a very much broader and more sustained commitment to Ukraine's defense that basically started from the first day of Russia's aggression back in February 2022. So from that perspective, I think the question is, how much more will it take before Putin gets it that he will not win this war? How many more people need to die, both on the front lines, Russians as well as Ukrainians, but also the many Ukrainian civilians that are now getting killed in increasing numbers? And let's also not forget the plight of the Ukrainians actually living under Russian occupation in the occupied territories of Ukraine.
Indeed, that whole Donbass area, as you say, has been fought over by various separatists, basically stoked by the Russians since 2014. All this accelerated since 2022. I'm wondering, given it'll take so long to get the Patriots, Ukraine style, online and get them operational, basically Ukraine continues with what it's doing now with its drones hitting beyond enemy lines.
Absolutely, and I think they are doing this very well. But it is clearly not enough. I mean, Russia still has capacity of its own to manufacture drones in large numbers. I think they are a little bit more constrained in terms of how many ballistic missiles they still have in storage or can produce on a monthly basis. That's why we are seeing sort of these massed strikes only every couple of days or weeks. So the other important element here, apart from strengthening Ukrainian air defense capacities, also is for Western countries to persist with their sanctions and really broaden these sanctions in order to limit Russia's capacity to source the critical components that it needs for its own ballistic missile and drone production. So I think there is still more that the West collectively could do in order to stifle the Russian war effort and ultimately bring Putin to a position where if he once again offers direct talks with Trump and Zelensky, wherever that might be, that he actually will come to the table with what might be a reasonable compromise position on the basis of which actual negotiations could start.
Professor Wolff, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on France 24. We appreciate your time and most of all your analysis. Thank you once again, Professor Stefan Wolff of the International Security Department at University of Birmingham. Thank you, sir, very much indeed.